Hi Aquarius, how are you? Welcome or welcome back to my beautiful channel. My name is Nina, otherwise known as Sinfulpluto, and today we are doing your Mercury retrograde readings. This is going to apply to Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. This is a general reading, so keep that in mind, all right? Not everything is going to resonate. Just take what relates and leave the rest that doesn't. Use your critical thinking and your discernment while watching these videos, and most of all, sit back, relax, have a good time, drink some water, have a snack, all the good stuff, okay? So yeah, if you want to book a personal reading with me, you can do so at sinfulpluto.com. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm using the Spacious Tarot for anyone who's wondering. I will be linking down below if you're interested in checking it out. Okay? Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. So what's going on for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus this Mercury retrograde? What's going on for Aquarius, this Mercury retrograde? Oh shit, oh shit, okay. Oh shit. Oh my god, cards are flying out, brother. Okay. Alright, well the card that flipped over was the Four of Cups. Okay, so we have, what order do I want to put these in? I guess I'll just put it in this order. Okay, so we have the Eight of Pentacles. We have Temperance reversed, so Sagittarius energy. We have the Four of Pentacles reversed. We have the Four of Cups. We have the Nine of Swords, and then after that, the Ten of Swords. At the bottom of the deck is the Hierophant upright. That's so crazy because Taurus got the Hierophant, but in reversed. That's interesting. So the Hierophant is Taurus and Capricorn energy to me. So maybe this is energy that you're dealing with in your life, whether it's a person or maybe it's you or whatever the case is. Alrighty, let's see. So overall energy of this Mercury retrograde has a lot to do with the conventional. It has a lot to do with traditions. However that might apply to you, whatever is traditional to you. This to me also talks about commitments, in following some sort of like traditional path or conventional path. This to me kind of feels like alignment, like something having to be in a very specific way, like following the rules or following instructions in some sort of way, doing things by the book is kind of what this feels like. So let's see, let's get into how that might resonate, how that might relate to you, Aquarius, this season. So okay, so for you, Aquarius, I feel as though there is kind of this, there's this issue with control, with being very rigid or stuck in your ways, or clinging on to some sort of person, place, thing, situation, like clinging on to something that gives you a false sense of security. I have the Four of Pentacles here, which is what I'm talking about. This card reversed talks about like someone clinging onto a false sense of security, not being very open to change. And I know that as a fixed sign, even though you're like known as like the kooky little unconventional sign that you are, I know that as fixed air, you don't really like change. You don't really like change, Aquarius. Whenever it feels like it's outside of your control, you don't like change. And there's an issue with like rigidity, of trying to be in control of things. The Four of Pentacles reverse can also be in relation to having a little bit of a lack mindset. Okay, so for some of you, you might be overworking yourselves or just working a lot in general, right? With this Eight of Pentacles, right? Trying to build up your wealth, trying to accumulate as much wealth as you can, whether this is like monetary wealth or something else. And it feels like you're not getting enough of this. And I think that's why you're taking things to extremes, or you might be taking things to extremes. I feel that some of you might be really anxious in terms of like either money or, I don't know, like emotions or like some form of stability in your life, some form of security in your life, whatever it is that makes you feel safe. I feel that there's some sort of like lack mindset or this fear of not having enough. And I feel like you might be hoarding things, or you might not be the most charitable or the most generous during this retrograde for whatever reason, because of your fear of not having enough, because of your fear of losing everything that you have accumulated over time, what have you, right? Like whatever situation this might be. And I see you kind of just like, I just feel like you might be taking things to extreme. I feel like you've built a solid work routine or some sort of routine to help accumulate whatever it is that you want to build, whatever it is, like maybe it's an empire or a business or whatever it is that you're trying to accumulate, right? I see you just being like the little worker bee that you are, you know, being a busy bee, working as much as you can, maybe even working full time, whatever the case is. And but I see you taking that to an extreme because of your fear of not having enough, right? Temperance reversed to me talks about a lack of moderation. This to me talks about you taking things to extremes. It talks to me about impatience, and it also talks about you placing too much value on the material or the physical world. And I see a disconnect between you and your spirituality, between you and your highest self, between you and your guides, your spiritual self, whatever you want to call it. I see you disconnecting from that because there is that overvalue on the material world, on the physical world. And yes, like material things are or can and are important. They can be important, and they can't, like they are important to an extent, right? Because we live in a material world, like we need money to survive. I get that. But to me, Aquarius, it seems like you're placing too much value on money, or you're placing too much value on status, on reputation, on recognition, on fame, on notoriety, that sort of thing. And I feel like you might be losing yourself a little bit, or losing a sense of your identity, losing a sense of self, because you're worrying maybe a little bit too much about clout, or you're worrying a little bit too much about the way that people view you, or how many people that you have reached, or how many followers that you have, or whatever the case is, right? And so I feel like it's important for you to think critically this retrograde season, this Mercury retrograde, to think critically about that, to reflect on that. The Four of Cups to me talks about needing to find peace and quiet in the chaos of that would like in the chaos that is your life, right? Meditating would be really helpful. Doing something to find a peace of mind, doing something to relax, doing something to loosen up a little bit, doing anything that makes you feel at peace in yourself, that kind of quiets your mind a little bit, doing anything that makes you just like slow down a little bit rather than being so caught up in work and trying to do everything at once. Because like the thing is that for a lot of us, we like to be busy, we like to do things, but just because we're moving around and doing things doesn't necessarily mean that we're being productive. And even if we are being productive, are we pushing ourselves to the limit, to the point of exhaustion, to the point of just like not wanting to do anything, just to the point of it being unhealthy, you know? Are we moving around just for the sake of moving around because that's like what we have accustomed our body to do, is always being in movement, even though we might not be doing the most. We may not be doing like things that are actually productive or conducive to growth in any sort of way. So I feel that with this Eight of Cups, it's really important for you to find stillness and to be mindful and to be aware of what you choose to act on. And whether all of this movement, like just moving around and doing all of this stuff, you know, like that busy movement, is it actually conducive to your growth and to your progress? Is it really helping you, or is it just exhausting you? Is it making you even more anxious? Is it, you know, just not really helping you in any sort of way? I think that's something that's worth reflecting on this retrograde season. And we have the Nine of Swords and the Ten of Swords, right? So there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of overthinking. You could be dealing with a lot of insomnia. And I think that's why journaling, meditating, practicing some yoga, or doing something to help center yourself is so incredibly important this retrograde, because I feel that your energy might be really scattered, or you're just focusing too much on the material world. And I need you to recenter yourself so that you see and remind yourself and remember that life isn't just about money or status or recognition, fame, notoriety, and the list goes on, right? Like, life isn't about those things. It can help for sure. Like, it can definitely help, but that is not the meaning of life. That is not what is ultimately going to make you happy at the end of the day. At least not happy for the long term. It's going to help temporarily, but maintaining fulfillment and true happiness does not reside in these things. So again, reflecting, contemplating, pondering these questions, reflecting on why you value these things so much, reflecting on the root of it all, finding the root of this issue is really going to be helpful to you. And I think it'll push you in the right direction. It'll encourage you to move in the right direction and to realign or to re-navigate and find a better path to follow. And then we have the Ten of Swords, which to me kind of talks about needing to re-navigate again, and it talks about needing to find a different approach to things rather than kind of like dragging the same old story around. This also to me just talks about like being a little bit melodramatic and just like making a situation much worse than it needs to be. So I would encourage you to reflect on how you might be making a situation worse. And this card is right under the Four of Pentacles reversed. So like, what actions are you, like, what are you acting on that is making this lack mindset worse? What is it that you are doing that is further promoting the lack mindset, the lack of generosity, the lack of being charitable, the feeling of not having enough, and so on and so forth? What could you be doing in your life that is making that sort of situation worse for yourself? And what can you do to basically reverse that? That sort of thing. Yeah, so that's interesting for you, Aquarius. I hope that this was helpful in some way. I hope that I was able to perhaps bring you to some awareness of something in your life or help you realize certain things. I hope this was helpful. I hope that it showed you something. I hope it showed you something. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I see for you, Aquarius. I hope it resonates. I hope it helps in some sort of way. Leave your feedback in the comments down below. I would love to hear it. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification to know when I upload my videos. Give the video a thumbs up. If you want to book a personal reading with me, you can do so at sinfulpluto.com. If you want to find me on social media, you can do so on Twitter and Instagram at Sinfulpluto. And I think that's it. So I'll talk to you later, Aquarius. Good luck. Yeah, bye.